Grandmother. Julian was terribly shaken when he saw Alma collapse suddenly. Without a moment to spare, he quickly started the car and sent her to the hospital. After the doctors tended to her, Alma was no longer in life-threatening danger. But her condition was far from good. "Doctor, how's my grandmother doing?" Julian immediately went up to the doctor the moment he stepped out of the ward. "Mr. Nicholson, has your grandmother been frequently taking some special medication?" the doctor asked. "Yes. She's been feeling unwell, so she takes some supplements occasionally," Julian admitted. "I'm afraid those aren't as simple as supplements." The doctor shook his head. "The patient's heavily reliant on the medication, and she has great amounts of toxins in her body. And with her old age, I'm afraid there isn't much we can do for her." "How is this possible? This is the best hospital there is. Is there nothing you can do?" Julian frowned. "The best solution now is to let the patient resume her medication to keep her body running for the time being. If we stop the medication so suddenly, I'm afraid she'll have less than 3 days left to live." The doctor sighed. Julian was shocked by what the doctor had said. If his grandmother were to die, what was he going to do? He wasn't the head of the family yet. Without his grandmother backing him up and his grandfather in a coma, things would be difficult for him in the future. Julian, right then, Alma, who was on the bed, slowly opened her eyes. Though the doctor had administered her painkillers, it was only a temporary relief that did not solve the problem at hand. "Yes, grandmother?" Julian swiftly went up to her and held her hand. "My medicine. Have you found it yet?" Alma asked weakly. "There's no news of it yet." Julian shook his head. "How about Mr. Kirrin? Have him send another bottle of the medicine over." "I'll pay double the price," Alma said. "Mr. Kirrin said that the medicine is too rare and that there's a limited production of it annually, so even if they manufactured it immediately, it'll take at least a month for us to get it," Julian said somberly. "A month? I can't wait that long. Think of something else." Alma was getting anxious. Julian was at a loss for words. He couldn't get his hands on the medicine, and there was nothing the doctor could do. What was he supposed to do? We've got news." One of the Nicholson guards barged in and reported. "Based on our investigations, it was a man by the name of Rhys who intercepted your medicine." "Who's Rhys?" Alma frowned. She could not recall knowing such a person, even after racking her brain. Rhys is the person who kicked Hank off the building," the bodyguard replied. "So it was him." Alma's expression darkened. "So you mean to say that Dahlia has my medicine now? That bitch. She looks like a decent person. Who would have guessed that she's so rotten within? How dare she mess with your medicine?" Julian hissed through clenched jaws. From how he saw it, this was Dahlia's ploy. She had planned to threaten his grandmother by taking her medicine away. How ambitious and wicked. "Julian, go find Dahlia right away. Make her give me back my medicine." Alma spat. "Yes, grandmother." Julian immediately left with several of their men upon receiving her orders. Over in the chairman's office at Nicholson Corp. "Dahlia, are we really leaving?" Julie seemed reluctant to part with the huge and luxurious office. Due to her position as the chairman's secretary, she got to enjoy lots of benefits. No matter where she went, people were ready to shower her with attention and flattery. As a result, she even slept with several young and attractive men. But now that Dahlia has been dismissed from her position as chairman, Julia was no longer her secretary. "We've got no choice. They have the final say. Before the head of the family comes around, we have no choice but to obey their instructions for now." After she cleared up the office, Dahlia sighed softly. It had not been easy for her to get to where she was. Of course, she wasn't ready to give up yet. But Alma was now in charge, and Dahlia had no means of going up against her. "This is all your fault. If you hadn't crossed the matriarch of the Nicholson family, Dahlia would not have been dismissed from her position." Julie turned to glare at Dustin, who was leisurely sipping on a cup of coffee. They were almost about to be kicked out of the company, and there he was, still eating and drinking like he had no care in the world. How heartless. "Why are you so flustered? Didn't I tell you that it wouldn't be long before the old lady comes and apologize?" She'll even grovel at Dahlia's feet to ask her to resume her position as chairman, Dustin said confidently. Me. She'll do that. Do you think I'm naive even to believe you? Julie rolled her eyes at him. Alma was the matriarch of the Nicholson family and had noble status. Dustin might be well off financially, but he was no match for the prominent Nicholson family. Rhys, don't forget what you promised. If Alma doesn't do as you predicted, you'll have to return us the plot of land free of charge, Florence suddenly quipped. Though her daughter had lost her position as chairman, it would make up for their loss if they could get their hands on that plot of land. Don't worry. I never go back on my word, Dustin assured. All right, the car's here. Let's go. With one final lingering glance around the office, Dahlia turned and left. Just as they made their way out of the building, a white Toyota Alphard pulled up in front of them. The car door opened, and Julian and several bodyguards came out. They stormed up to them angrily. Dahlia, isn't that Julian? Why is he back? Julia wondered aloud. Are they back to give us trouble? Florence cowered, an unknown panic creeping up on her. They're not here to give us trouble, they're here to beg us for a favor. Dustin smirked. Hey, are you delusional? Don't you see the vicious look on their faces? What makes you think they're here to beg for anything? You should thank your lucky stars if they don't just come up to you and start chopping you up. Julia huffed angrily. Dahlia Nicholson. Julian roared the moment he got near. Give me back my grandmother's medicine right now. Medicine? What medicine? Dahlia was caught off guard and stared at him quizzically. Huh. You're playing the fool now? You think we don't know that you've sent someone to intercept my grandmother's medicine? Julian glared threateningly at Dahlia. This has nothing to do with her. I was the one who did it. Dustin took 2 steps forward and said with full confidence, the medicine you're referring to, I assume, is this? The Zitanium. He took out a purple bottle from his pocket. That's right. Give it back. Julian's eyes lit up, and he immediately reached out, ready to snatch it out of Dustin's hand. But Dustin easily dodged him. What's the meaning of this? Julian asked with a dark expression. I can give you the medicine. But I have 3 conditions, Dustin said calmly. You have no right to talk about conditions. Give me the medicine now, or I'll see to it that today is the day you die. Julian threatened. Without another word, Dustin lifted his hand and delivered a hard slap across Julian's face. Where are your manners? Can't you speak properly?